What is the main reason for high life expectancy? Until recently it was believed that the basic parameters of life expectancy are the high body mass and low metabolic rate, but scientists have denied this allegation. New Vanderbilt research finds, it is more to do with their brain than their body. More specifically, it is not the size of the body or metabolic rates that decide longevity, it is the number of neurons in the cerebral cortex of the brain determines 75% of the life expectancy. Susanna Herculano-Husel, an associate professor of psychology and biological sciences at Vanderbilt University, suggests that the number of neurons in the cerebral cortex determine longevity and sexual maturity. Life expectancy is directly dependent on the absolute number of cortical neurons, because the cerebral cortex plays a key role in adaptation to environment and stress response. The size of the person or the speed of their metabolism doesn't matter. Body size and metabolism only predicted between 20 to 30% of longevity depending on the species. Anthropologists believed, humans have a special evolutionary oddity, with long childhood and postmenopausal periods. But this research, published in the Journal of Comparative Neurology on October 23, 2018, finds that's not accurate. Humans take just as long to mature sexually as expected of their number of cortical neurons and live just as long as expected thereafter. Herculano-Husel studied more than 700 warm-blooded animal species from the Animal Aging and Longevity database, and compared the records of their longevity with data on the number of neurons in each species' brains and saw a pattern to emerge. Anthropologists had the assumption that the human species is unique, with long childhood and adolescent period, to allow for learning and socialization. Contrary to these assumptions, she found, humans do not have an uncommonly long childhood and adolescent period. Instead, this period is proportional to the number of neurons in the human cerebral cortex. According to Herculano-Husel, the number of neurons in the human cortex decides the time it takes humans to reach sexual maturity and longevity. If larger animals live longer, then gorillas should live longer than humans, but they don't. Humans outlive them, because the human brain contains more neurons. One favored hypothesis is that being cared for by grandmothers could have led humans to delayed sexual maturity and increased postmenopausal longevity beyond the expected. But Herculano-Husel's new data show that humans are not an exception from other mammalian species. The number of neurons in the human cortex decides when to reach sexual maturity and lifespan. Body size turns out to be irrelevant in matters of longevity. Now we can say that humans spend just as long in childhood and live exactly as long after reaching maturity as you would expect for the number of neurons in our cerebral cortex, said Herculano-Husel. It makes sense that the more neurons you have in the cortex, the longer it should take a species to reach that point where it's not only physiologically mature, but also mentally capable of being independent, says Herculano-Husel. The delay also gives those species with more cortical neurons more time to learn from experience, as they interact with the environment. If longer lives also accompany more cortical neurons, those species will also enjoy a greater overlap between generations, and so more opportunities to pass along what they learned. Which means that grandma is still fundamental in the lives of those with plenty of cortical neurons. She's just probably not the reason why our species is long-lived, argues Herculano-Husel. What is the link between having more neurons in the cortex and living longer lives? Herculano-Husel says that's the new big question researchers need to tackle. The data suggest that warm-blooded species accumulate damages at the same rate as they age. But what curtails life are damages to the cerebral cortex, not the rest of the body. The more cortical neurons you have, the longer you will still have enough to keep your body functional. Unlike cells in the body, which are constantly being replenished, neurons in the cortex are thought to last an individual's lifetime. When a neuron is damaged, it is not replaced. If neurons are damaged, the body's functionality is diminished, and longevity is reduced. The cortex is the part of the brain that is capable of making our behavior complex and flexible. It extends well beyond cognition and doing mental math and logic reasoning. The cortex plays a direct role in emotions, stress management, and aging starts from adolescence. The cerebral cortex also gives the body adaptability, as it adjusts and learns how to react to stresses and predict them. That includes keeping your physiological functions running smoothly and making sure heart, respiration, and metabolism are on track with what you are doing, with how you feel, and with what you expect to happen next. The study therefore advocates taking care of your mind, and keeping neurons healthy and occupied, for the best chance of living long and well. Thank you.